Everyone. Maxime Bernier has been having a hard time getting invited to everything. And the debate commissioner weighed in on his side the other week, and he's invited to the October 7th English debate and the October 10th French debate, which is good, but all the other debates are either being canceled because of lack of participation by Mr. Trudeau, or are Mr. Bernier is being cut out. Isn't that interesting? I think it's interesting to note. And well, here's the Toronto Star. It's got 38,000 subscribers. I almost have half what the Toronto Star has, that's kind of crazy to me. Canadian politics, right? But they've got an interview with Justin Trudeau that they live streamed, an interview with Mr. Andrew Scheer, the Conservative Party leader of the opposition, that they live streamed. They've got Elizabeth May that they live streamed, and they've got Jagmeet Singh that they live streamed. But I can't find Mr. Bernier's live stream, and I know they did one. Here's the Prime Minister's, and you can see 8,000 views on September 5th. Here's Mr. Scheer's, 6,600 views, September 4th, live streamed. I found Mr. Bernier's. This is the Toronto Star's page with Mr. Bernier's streamed live, but this one's unlisted. Isn't that interesting? Is that how you want your media behaving? Unlisting one of the leaders? Just on the video page, it doesn't show up unless you have the direct link. Wild, right? Well, here's the direct link. I'm also going to repost this on my channels as well, but I think that's dirty, dirty pool. And, well, here's the CBC playing the same game. Here is the CBC's The National presents Face-to-Face, right? So an in-depth 5 minutes with each obviously airbrushed leader's face. My goodness, Andrew Scheer looks like a drawing, doesn't he? And so does Justin Trudeau. Ugh, scary. Okay, I can't look at that. That's terrifying. Link is in the description. And here's one with Maxime added in, and he looks actually human compared to his animated counterparts. Why do this? Well, you know why to do this, but isn't it interesting? They're doing it again as well, starting September 30th. This is just a different ad for the same thing, right? The face-to-face with the federal leaders, one a day, excluding Mr. Bernier. Isn't that wild, right? And I don't think the media should editorialize that much. Mr. Bernier has cleared the hurdles to be included in the debates. Mr. Bernier has cleared the hurdles to have a very, very large number of EDAs across the country with candidates already confirmed. It's incredible that the media, the state paid for, your tax dollars and my tax dollars, media, are excluding a leader of a viable new political party, the fastest growing in Canadian history. And by doing that, they're stymieing the growth. And I don't think that's the media's job. I don't think it's the role. I think it's the role of the media to accurately report, and report in a fair way, not in a way like this, right? You unlist one and leave the rest. Mr. Bernier, well, I'll not get into it, but it's really, really unfortunate when the media stacks the deck like that, because I don't think it is reflective of a fair democracy, right? Like, we should be able to make the choice, a legitimate choice. The other story for this morning, and I thought this was incredible. I think this is a big story, and it potentially is just going to be a small blip, but I think it's a big story. Mr. Bernier says, and this is in a tweet yesterday at 7:12 p.m. It's September 29th today, and so yesterday was September 28th. Mr. Bernier says, 1. The G&M, Globe and Mail, writes today that it found no record that Andrew Scheer ever was an insurance broker. And yet his Facebook page and CPC webpage bios still claim he was. So we want to know, did he lie about it for years to pretend he had minimum private sector experience? Minimal private sector experience. And this is a screenshot from the conservative.ca website. You can see there's the green lock, right? And it says Andrew Scheer has been the leader of the Conservative Party since May 27, 2017. And they dedicated one whole sentence to his private working life. It says, before entering public life, Andrew worked in the private sector as an insurance broker. He is fluently bilingual. Okay, so that's at the bottom there. And 2 of 2, Mr. Bernier continues. Here is an excerpt from the Globe and Mail. And I found this in the Globe and Mail article, so we're going to go read it from the article here. Okay, So here's the article. It was posted yesterday, September 28th, 18 hours ago from now. And, well, here's the important part. He doesn't usually highlight how he worked his way up from the party mailroom. His aides point to high school jobs selling popcorn and hot dogs at sporting arenas. Mr. Scheer talks of learning about the struggles of small businesses while working for them. In fact, his private sector experience is scant. In 2003, he worked briefly as a waiter in Regina after moving there to be with his future wife, Jill. Then he spent a few months working in insurance, although what he did isn't exactly clear. In official bios, such as the one on his Facebook page, Mr. Scheer is said to have been an insurance broker before entering public life. His office said he was an insurance agent. He was not. The Globe and Mail found no record he ever received the license required by law to work as an insurance agent or broker in Saskatchewan. And to clarify, Mr. Scheer's spokesman, Daniel Scho, said earlier this week that Mr. Scheer took broker courses but left the industry before receiving a license. The job functions Mr. Scho listed were clerical, such as issuing license plates and collecting payments. At any rate, Mr. Scheer's insurance career was brief. He was hired at Scheer Insurance by Mike Scheer, a Saskatchewan Party candidate in the 2003 provincial campaign, on whose campaign Mr. Scheer worked. After Mr. Scheer was elected in 2004, he hired Mr. Scheer as his assistant, according to Mr. Scheer's LinkedIn profile. Right? Isn't that really kind of... So he got hired by Mr. Scheer to work on his campaign, and then when Mr. Scheer got hired, he hired Mr. Scheer as his assistant when he was elected. That seems weird, but I guess a lot of things seem weird to me, right? So, well, as I said, this might be a big story. This might blow up, and this might just be a little blip. You know, nobody seems to care about the irregularities in the leadership contest. Nobody seems to care about any of the other irregularities we see. Nobody seems to care about Justin Trudeau in blackface, yet if that was Mr. Bernier, the whole thing would be done. Isn't that all interesting? It's so... I don't even know what to think about it. It's so... There are so many different angles to look at that from, right? Like, is it unfair or is that just politics, right? It might be just politics. But at the same time, if that's just politics, is that acceptable? And if that's acceptable, is the unlisting of Mr. Bernier on a Toronto Star, supposedly bipartisan, well, it's not bipartisan, and we all know that, but, you know, a newspaper that is getting taxpayer subsidy, is that acceptable too? Weigh in the comments, because at this point, I just I don't know. I don't know what's acceptable in Canadian politics anymore. Blackface from Justin Trudeau, totally okay. Silencing Mr. Bernier and unlisting his videos, totally okay. Lying about your private sector experience before you entered politics, seemingly okay. So what's not okay in Canadian politics? Maybe that's going to be the title of the video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to vote. Voting day is October 21st, and have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday.